everybody. Hello, everybody. I guess I should, let's see, I got some new lights. Where do we want our lights to be? Where do we want our lights to be? I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know. So I guess I'm going to have to figure it out. I do know that it's bright right there. And there's shadows up there, so that's not right either. Truthfully, I don't know anything about it, but we'll figure it out. One of my listeners, Ryan, Mr. Ryan Savino, thank you very much for the lights. He went out of his way to send me some lights. I was talking about lighting on AM Excellence, mentioning that the light was poor, and he said, hey, what's your address? I want to send you something. So, thank you very much for that. I still don't know how to use them. I don't know anything about it, but we'll figure it out. Matt Anderson, paging Matt Anderson, paging my friend Matt Anderson. You'll probably be getting a call here soon. All right, folks, we are back for this week's edition of, two little things on my application dock bouncing around there. Hey, Swags. So I'm going to be jumping into another episode of What I Learned This Week because I had a busy weekend and I wasn't able to get to it. And that's why. That's the only reason. I was on the road, traveling, having fun, doing fun stuff. And I just got back. And right now I'm going to record this. So where do we want to be? How do we handle this lighting? Does anyone know how to handle this lighting? I got a light staring at me here and a light staring at me there. And I just looked into them and I almost went blind. Holy moly. Well, there's some new names. I like it. Some new names. So for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, who might know me from fighting, or I don't know how you came across it for the first time, but every morning, so I'll give you the gist, every morning at 6:30 a.m., I do a live stream, Monday through Friday, a live stream of my podcast. So my podcast has a bunch of different types of programming. It has what you're about to listen to now, which is called What I Learned This Week, which is a summation of what I learned this week. From the books that I read and the conversations that I have, even some podcasts and life experience I throw in there. But that's AM Excellence, 5 days a week. It is Matt Perlman. I don't know what it'd be about, my friend, but shoot me a message and I will get back to you ASAP. So AM Excellence, again, it's 8 minutes every single day, Monday through Friday, of the books I'm reading. More or less the books I'm reading. 8 minutes, boom. I also do an interview, roughly one interview per week, sometimes 2 interviews per week. Those are hour-ish. I also sometimes I do a Spanish episode. Sometimes I do solo episodes. Sometimes I record workshops that I do with businesses and schools and teams, and I post the audio of that up to the podcast as well. So it's quite a variety of sorry, I'm checking out the comments. Quite a variety of programming. So there's all kinds. Sorry, now I'm checking an email. There's all kinds of programming for it, but if you would like to help support the show, please hop onto iTunes, and search out Spaniard and click subscribe. AM Excellence, boom, they're on Facebook as well every day. But in case you're out and about, or in case the Facebook algorithm doesn't catch you, subscribe there. It'll be sent straight to your phone. And then what I'm going to record now, so I do these live streams, and then in like 2 or 3 minutes, I will say, okay, I'm going into podcast mode, and then I will actually record the audio. So what I would love for you, if you're going to stay tuned in for this entire, it's roughly 15 or 20 minute episode, is to comment, feedback. I just love freaking learning. I love learning. I love reading. I love asking questions. I love all of it because it just like stretches my mind, stretches my brain. It's exciting. It's fun. It's challenging. It's inspiring. And, you know, I love to interact with people who love to talk about learning. So please, you know, add a comment below and I will respond to it. If not right now, thank you, Mike Malas, for that compliment, my friend. If I don't respond right now, I can't respond when I'm recording because it's like I try to keep it a polished episode for the podcast, but I will respond afterwards. Actually going to take my dog for a walk right after this. She's right there. I think she just heard the W-A-L-K word. And then I will get back to it and answer it as soon as possible. So any sharing, commenting, again, that's all appreciated. One, because I just stinking love interacting with learning. And two, it does help the show grow. So, thank you. Thank you. And if you're a newbie, please consider coming back tomorrow morning for AM Excellence 502. All right. So are we ready? Hey, Dred, can you tell the difference in the lighting? Yes? No? Do I have it in the right place? Peekaboo. Well, that's nice. That's nice right there. Is it nice, Dred? Is that nice or is it not nice? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Huh? 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 I think that shadow's not good. I'm thinking of the UFC. When you're in the UFC, they have like the lights in the audio and the reflectors when you're doing the interviews and stuff. Obviously, I wasn't taking notes. I was just trying to win a fight. All right, let's get cranking here. All right, let's go. Now I'm going into podcast mode. Welcome, my friends, to another episode of What I Learned This Week. And this is actually a What I Learned This Week, but from last week. So occasionally I will do this, actually more than occasionally, because I've been pretty busy, you know, a fair amount of the past several weekends. But this is what I learned, and it is a condensation, it is a summation of the things I learned. Why is it valuable to you? Because learning freaking kicks butt, right? Asking questions, curiosity. One of the books that I'm going to talk about this week is A Curious Mind, talking about curiosity. Simply asking questions, that it's valuable, that it enriches your life, that it energizes your life, that it challenges you, that it helps you reach goals, it helps you learn about other people, it helps you interact with other people. It's a great leadership and management tool. There's so many reasons that you should commit yourself to becoming a lifelong learner, and that includes reading, that includes asking questions, that includes in the book. I'm going to talk about this thing called Curiosity Conversations, a book that I'm reading from Brian Grazer, who is a TV and movie producer of movies that you have certainly heard of. He set up Curiosity Conversations. It got me thinking, it got me reflecting, hey, that's what this podcast is. You know, this podcast is about learning, right? But at its root, learning and curiosity, they're kind of teammates. You know, they're yin and a yang. They're running side by side. They're pushing and they're pulling. They're ebbing and they're flowing. Because with curiosity comes questions. With questions comes listening and then learning. So it all falls into this funnel of lifelong learning. This show, the Spaniard Show, is about becoming the world's toughest lifelong learner, committing yourself to that act actively. Reading, asking questions, learning, however you can see it. Podcasts are a great example, not just the Spaniard Show, but there's a ton of other podcasts out there. On a pretty much daily basis, Joe Rogan is teaching me how to do what I do by simply doing what he does. So the people are out there for you to listen to. The people are out there for you to model. As John Wooden said, I read it in one of his books first, the idea of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? That's what we're doing. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. So if you like this show, if you want to help support this show, there's a few things you can do. One, you can share it. You can share these episodes. There's a nice little share command at the bottom of whatever podcast app you're listening to. If you're watching on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, the live stream of it, you can share this video. You can hop on iTunes. You can leave a review. And you can even run on over to my website, charliespaniard.com, to opt into my email list where you're actually going to get this PDF from which I'm using as a guide for this episode. You're going to get this sent to you every Friday. I think I'm also going to start sending out some workouts on a regular basis because I know a lot of you out there are really into training, really into fitness, and could use a guide. I'm not a certified trainer. I'm not a certified whatever, but I've been training my butt off for the last 25 years, and I picked up a thing or two along the way. So that could appease to you as well. Whew. Enough of that intro. Let's get to the learning. This is what I learned this week. This is the 64th week. 64th week that I've done it this way in terms of emailing out this document. Started as the Excellence Blueprint, and then I believe it was the Bold Blueprint, and now we have it simply just called What I Learned This Week document, because I couldn't think of a more descriptive name, a better name to call it. So I thought, what is it? That's what I learned. All right, then let's call it What I Learned This Week. So the first bullet point, and I run down bullet points from the episodes that I put out every week. Sometimes it's 6 episodes, sometimes it's 7. Yeah, it's either 6 or 7, to be honest. So, but these bullet points are on a PDF that can be emailed to you by going to charliespaniard.com and opting into the email list. The first bullet point comes from the book, The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. I topped off this book last week before starting A Curious Mind by Brian Grazer. But The Art of Learning is written by chess prodigy and martial arts world champion Josh Waitzkin. Josh Waitzkin takes us through his learning process. You know, so I'm an avid learner, and reading this book helped me think, like, how do we break it? Like, there's a process to learning. Like, there's certain things that you do repetitively to learn. You know, for me specifically, it was wrestling, the sport of wrestling. Then it was Spanish. It's fighting. It's podcasting. Like, when you collect all those things that you know how to do, there was a process that you went through to actually learn those things. And it's really neat in this book because Waitzkin takes us from kind of behind the scenes. He breaks down his process of learning chess. You know, he was a chess prodigy. He was a chess national champion, I believe, by the time he was 8 or 9 years old. Went on to he's world renowned in chess. But then also he won world championships in martial arts and Tai Chi. So he knows how to learn. And reading this book really broke it down into, I don't want to say scientific, because that sounds a little like, but it's just an exciting, pragmatic way to learn. So one of the quotes from this week's reading was, I saw that the greatest practitioners were not mystics. Now you listener, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, you appreciate doing, or maybe you aspire, right? So I live a life of inspiration. I live a life of aspiration. Right? I consume fuel on a daily basis to inspire me, to drive me forward, to push me forward, to stay on this course of going after the things I want in life. So I'm inspired, but also I aspire to be certain places to be. I mentioned Joe Rogan a couple minutes ago. If you, for me specifically, looking at Joe Rogan, he goes out on the road, he's a comedian, he sells out theaters and crowds and has all these comedy shows. Then he comes back home to his state-of-the-art studio with stuff that he loves and people that he loves talking to. I aspire to be there. So this bullet point, I saw that the greatest practitioners were not mystics, but profoundly dedicated martial artists who had refined certain fundamental skills at a tremendously high level. To get there, to get where Rogan is, to get where Jocko is, to get where these guys are, whom I aspire to be like, whose careers I strive to model. There's an important thing at notice here that you should take note of too. That Waitzkin is telling us the greatest practitioners were not mystics. They're not magicians. It's not magic. It's not a otherworldly thing that we don't have. It's simply this. They're dedicated whatevers who had refined certain fundamental skills at a tremendously high level. I read a book not too long ago called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and there was a quote in the book, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but essentially it was talking about leadership, and it was talking about running a team, leading a team, and said something along the lines of, it's not about mastering these really complex principles, but rather mastering very simple principles, right? So repeating common things in uncommon amount, right? It's getting really stinking good at those little things. And Waitzkin is telling us that the same thing. It's about the fundamental skills at a tremendously high level. When I read that in the book, I talked about it on, this comes from AMX 496. I talked about it in that episode, but the first two people to pop into my mind, boom, organically, without putting any predisposed thought or thought exploration, was Frankie Edgar and Cale Sanderson. Frankie Edgar and Cale Sanderson are two of the best ever at what they've done. Frankie's on his way to he's already in a Hall of Fame career. He's on his way to the UFC Hall of Fame. Cale Sanderson is the greatest collegiate wrestler ever. These guys are masters of the fundamentals. They teach mastering the fundamentals. Frankie's footwork, it's quick, it's fast. His combinations are solid fundamental combinations. Cael Sanderson's wrestling, he's smooth, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected. It's not like they're jumping off walls and doing backflips and doing all kinds of crazy things that you and I can't do. They're mastering these fundamental skills at a tremendously high level. The next bullet point comes from the book that I started last week called A Curious Mind, written by Brian Grazer. Brian Grazer is a TV and movie producer. He's written Friday Night Lights, 24, Cinderella Man, a ton of very successful shows and movies. And he talks about the value of a beautiful mind. He talks about the value of curiosity. Curiosity, I absolutely love it. If you know me personally, I'm apologizing to you, kind of. If you do know me personally, I'm thinking of my buddy Matt, my buddy Jack, my family, my wife, my closest friends. They know I'm curious, that I ask a ton of questions. I ask so many questions that at times it can be taken as condescending. Like, what are you after, buddy? What do you, and it's like, no, I just want to know. There's no ulterior motive. I'm not trying to do anything with it. I'm not trying to annoy you. I simply want to know. I'm just a curious person. People, how things work, you know, those shows that how this is made, how that's made, how this works. I love those shows because I just love stinking sitting there and listening. So Brian Grazer shares this love of curiosity, and he's used it to build the life he wants. He's used curiosity to elevate his life. The subtitle of the book says about building a bigger life, using curiosity to build a bigger life. He says, quote, "Curiosity has quite literally been the key to my success and also the key to my happiness. Curiosity has quite literally been the key to my success and also the key to my happiness." How? How could curiosity be the key to your success? Well, here's the deal, folks. Write this down. Learning gets you what you want. Learning gets you what you want. So how does that have to do with curiosity and being the key to success? Well, I want things in life, right? Whether it's to speak often, weekly, monthly, whether it's to reach an X number of downloads, whether it's to produce a show, whether it's, if you're watching me on Facebook Live, whether it's to execute and master this new lighting that I got, these little lights that are going to make my camera view better. Those are the things that I want. So you have to learn about how to get there. And your curiosity, asking those questions, is exactly what we're talking about here. Asking those questions is what is going to get you to the point of your success. And also the key to your happiness. Again, it's such a simple concept, this idea of curiosity leading to success, leading to happiness, because to get the things you want in life, right? You have to know how to get them. You have to know how to do them. You have to know how to execute them. Well, how are you going to do that? You've got to be curious. You've got to ask questions. You've got to learn the steps of the process. Remember what Josh Waitzkin told us, that these people aren't mystics? They've simply refined fundamental skills at a tremendously high level. That's on you and that's on me to make it happen. Nobody else. And here's the thing. It's free. It's free and it's welcomed. If you reach out to a successful person, now granted, you might have to reach out to 1,000 people before you get 5 to respond to you. You know, as the host of a show who has guests on my show, I reach out to many people from whom I never get a response. But every once in a while, I'll get a Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, author, now a political commentator. I'll have them respond to me and say, you were bold enough to reach out. I figure I'll take you up on it. And then boom, it sparked a conversation with him that I'll never forget. One of the most valuable conversations that I've ever had. Writing a handwritten letter to Chico Lager, who was the original CEO of Ben & Jerry's. To have him respond and say, I haven't gotten a letter in so long, I figured, hey, this young guy's writing me a letter, I'm going to respond. It takes that action, which stems from curiosity, that really puts those things in motion. It's free. Guess what? You can write a letter. You can send an email. You can do all these things. It doesn't cost a dime. It doesn't cost a dime, so take advantage of it. The next bullet point coming from the same book, A Curious Mind, is one of the most important ways I use curiosity. You know, it's nice to be nice to people, right? It's nice to have been nice to. Does that make sense to you? It's nice to be on the receiving end of niceness. It's also nice to be on the giving end of niceness. It just makes the world a better place, you know? So Grace is telling us one of the most important ways I use curiosity every day is to see the world through other people's eyes. So curiosity, questioning, learning, it helps you see the world through other people's eyes. It gives you other people's perspectives. In this crazily dynamic, powerful, whatever world that we live in right now, seeing through other people's eyes, seeing the perspectives of other people can help us reach resolution. Now, I don't want to get on a soapbox here, so I'll use it specifically speaking. Interacting with my wife. We've been married, 2018, 6 years. We've been married six-ish years, and I'm just learning how to make this the best possible home for my wife and I and our children. You got to ask questions. You've got to learn. You've got to understand that I don't really want to do this, but I understand their perspective, and I want to make this the best possible place that there can be. So I'm going to do those things. It's about asking questions. It's about using curiosity. It's about learning. Your team. I was watching so I read the book Legacy by James Kerr. It's about the All Blacks, and they're a New Zealand professional rugby team. One of the best franchises ever, most dominant franchises ever across any sports team. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called All It Takes or What It Takes, I believe. But just search it out, All Blacks, and you'll come across it. And the coach was talking, and this is a man of success. He knows how to coach. He knows the soft skills of coaching. And he said, you got to know when to push. You got to know when to give a hug or a pat on the back. You got to know when to be hard and tough. It's about understanding that, and it's the curiosity. It's the questioning from which you can learn that. As a father, I've got to learn like what buttons to push or not push with my kids, or how to kind of guide them along so that they can achieve their potential. And in a relationship with my wife or in a relationship with my family, you've got to learn. And it comes from curiosity, because curiosity and questioning are related. Asking these questions, you can ask questions. Be curious to learn about other people's perspective. That will increase your communication skills, guaranteed. Grazer also says of curiosity, inspiring curiosity is the first job of a good story. How many of you out there, if you're watching on Facebook Live, write the name of the person and why. And if you're out there, think of it, because you'll smile, because I'm thinking of it smiling right now. How many of you know a person who tells a dang good story? Huh? Who do you think of? Who did you think of just now when I said a person who tells a dang good story? My brother-in-law is a great storyteller. Rick and Rock Bonomo, my former wrestling coaches, the two of the funniest human beings on earth. They're tremendous storytellers. And Grazer's telling us inspiring curiosity is the first job of a good story. Think of when you read a book or watch a movie, when it piques your interest, headlines, copywriting. There's careers. There's people who change their lives through copywriting, through sparking curiosity. Inspiring curiosity is the first job of a good story. I'm thinking of my brother-in-law, the way he leaves us on edge, his physical mannerisms, the rise and the fall of his voice, the context, telling a story and then subbing that story with a sub story and then bringing us back to the main story. And it's like this obstacle course. I'm envisioning my dog run through this obstacle course. It's like an obstacle course that's a story, and it's absolutely enthralling. So whenever you're in whatever path you're in, if you listen to this show, you're a leader to some degree. Whether you're out and about in a leadership position, in a management position, in a coaching position, or whether you're simply a quiet human being who wants to be a better quiet human being. You have the ability to tell a good story. You have the ability to inspire curiosity. And whenever you have someone's curiosity, you have them. You're able to communicate and to deliver a message. So if there's something that you believe in, if there's something that you want to pass on to your kids, to whomever, understand that inspiring curiosity is the first job of a good story. And thank you to all you good storytellers out there. And I have to say, my job, the way I make a living is to stand on stage and essentially tell stories. And I learned very early on that the way to be a great speaker is to tell stories with morals. Because people would always say, how do you speak? I asked this question. How do you speak on stage for an hour with no note cards? Oh my gosh, that's so daunting. That's so scary. And then people say, you just tell a story. You tell a story and you have a moral to the story. Grazer does a great job in his book of telling his perspective of being a speaker and speaking on stage. Look, when I'm telling you the story about when I beat Rick Story, or when I got kicked in the face by Rumble Johnson, or when I shattered my eye socket, or when I got knocked out cold by Danny Castillo, those are my stories. That's my reality. So I can't not tell it right. I'm just telling the story. So that was just a little bit behind the scenes about telling stories, being on stage, and being able to remember those stories. Okay, moving on. This is from Thursday's episode, last Thursday's episode. It's episode number 181. And again, if you're listening to this What I Learned episode on Facebook right now, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, remember, hop on iTunes, subscribe, because you're going to get every episode, the interviews, the solo shows, the AMX episodes, you're going to get them all sent directly to your phone. This next tidbit comes from episode number 181, and this came out on Thursday. And I'm talking about the power of committing yourself to learning. So every morning, every day, and when I say every day, I mean it's kind of hyperbole, but it's not really. I'm saying at least six out of 7 days. 6 out of 7 days, I commit myself to learning. I read a book. I essentially listen to a podcast or an audiobook every day. So it's pretty much 7 out of 7 days. But on Thursday's episode, I say this: the power of committing yourself to learning is, you hear all these different ideas, and there's a lot of different ways to do the right thing. And it forces you to really articulate in your own heart and mind what you believe. So I'm 37. When I think of me as a 15-year-old, as a 20-year-old, 25, 30, 35, 37, it's like you're a piece of clay, right? You're a piece of clay being molded. There was a commercial, I think it was a NOS energy drink maybe, by the UFC, where it brought you through. It was like on all the time as you watch UFC, but it was this young, fit guy and his evolution into like kind of an older, weathered man. And to me, that's really what life is like, and that's what learning is like, and that's why I love it so much. I love the journey. I love the starting point and then the ending point, and then watching everything in between, but really, truly knowing what it takes to do all that stuff in between. But you learn all these different things. When I was a teenager, I thought this and that. And then when I was in college, I thought this and that. And then when I first got married, I thought this and that. And then you have one kid and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most difficult thing in the world. Oh, and then you have 2 kids and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most difficult thing in the world. I didn't know anything when I just had 1 kid. And then you see like someone else who just has a newborn and you think, oh, that's so cute. They think that's the most difficult thing in the world. And now I have 2 kids. So if you're listening to me and you have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, you're saying, Spaniard, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're right. I don't know. I only know what I know. And that's the power of lifelong learning. That's the power of asking questions about other people who are in situations that you're not in, that you could never know. I've never done a lot of things in my life. So how do I learn about them? I ask questions. One of the most insightful conversations I've ever had is with Riley Cote. Riley was an enforcer for the Philadelphia Flyers. He was on the show as well. Again, another reason to subscribe. Search out Riley Cote. You're going to find that episode. It was such a raw, just insightful, tremendously real, primal conversation about being an enforcer in the NHL. I was never there. I can never tell you what it's like, but I can listen to what it's like from Riley, and then I can post it, and then you can learn. That's the power. You hear all these different things and perspectives and ways of being, and then you can let the dust settle, and at the end of the day, you're going to wake up and you're going to think to yourself, that's what I think. And you're going to think that until you learn and value and believe in something else. And it really is just kind of this winding road of learning. To me, that's exciting. That's like the point of being here. The point is the point. The point is the process. There's no necessary end game. I'm going to be doing this until I die. I'm going to be learning until my last breath. That's essentially that's what I want to pass on to my kids, to be honest. I want to spark that curiosity. And the last point, Grazer talks about his hair. He talks about his hair, and I wanted to include this point. This is like a break the fourth wall, kind of behind the scenes, a little bit of insight. Because my hair is a giant part. This is like probably shouldn't even post this on the episode because it's just as if I'm talking to my friend or Dread behind the scenes. But Grazer talks about his hair sparking curiosity. And it's interesting because my hair has sparked curiosity and conversation, especially in fighting, etc. I recently cut it, and I'm reading this, and I'm thinking, why did I cut my hair? So I think I made a decision that I'm going to let my hair grow back. But it was interesting to hear Grazer say that he kind of like intentionally used his hair as a curiosity grabber, a conversation starter, and it helped elevate his career. It helped set him apart from everyone else, from all the other TV and movie producers. He even talks about a conversation he had with Fidel Castro, talking about his hair. And it was just really neat because I talk often of a success principle, the Success Principle book written by Jack Canfield. And also, anytime I mention a book, if I know I speed by and talk really fast, if you go to charliespaniard.com/reading list, just go to my website, click on reading list, you'll be able to find all of these books on that page. But he was talking about a conversation he had with Fidel Castro and about his hair, and it's just a really, really neat thing. But he said it was a reminder to him about himself, that he wanted to be different, and it also set him apart from the competition. So, okay, time to grow my hair out. Sorry, honey, sorry. All right, sorry, drain in my shower for growing my hair out because it falls out so much. This has been what I learned this week. I appreciate you all tuning in as always. Any way that you would like to help support the show, whether you share this episode, whether you subscribe, whether you leave a review on iTunes. It's been a couple weeks, at least a couple weeks since we've gotten a new review on iTunes. So if you take a minute or two to do that, I'll even walk you through it if you want to contact me on social media at Charlie Spaniard. And then hop on over to my website to opt in to get this document sent to you and to check out my speaking programs. This idea of lifelong learning, it is a universal principle. It is a universal concept. It is something that from the time you start school until you take your last breath on earth, learning will enrich your life. And I've developed a message, a freaking mantra, a way of being that instills this love and will give you resources that will enrich your life. So check out my speaking programs as well while you're there. Be bold, my friends. I love it. I love those episodes. Love them. I love them. I love them. Put that there. So thank you all for tuning in to this live stream of what I learned this week. I hope you continue to watch and support the show however you see fit. We'll be back tomorrow morning with AM Excellence 502. That airs at 6:30 a.m. live here and then immediately uploaded to my podcast feed. If you want to subscribe on iTunes, just search out Spaniard. Click subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow.